Mnaingia hapa iko sawa. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Turekebishe hiyo, tuweke hiyo sawa. Asante. May I please request that I settle? All right. You've got your group of fans right there. Please join me. Please join me. Settle your things down. Choose the seating that you wish to have. And may I please request that we now take our seats. We have about an hour for this, and we have to be prompt. As soon after that, we have the opening ceremony with the honorable guest of honor. I think the preps are going very well. All right. Please, let's take our seats. So throughout the day today, particularly in the morning, we'll let you know about the logistics. Well, rather than the things that we're going to be discussing about, but pretty much the layout of the hall. If you wish to find the social amenities, please use the main exit, turn to the left, and just before you finish the corridor to the right, the gents are the first door to the right, and the ladies a little bit further down the corridor to the right. So the gents are to the left, the ladies further down the corridor to the right. We have, along the area where you registered yourselves, we have a main office at the far end. If you need anything at all, please let us know. I believe we also have a prayer room. I'll let you know where it's, what the name of the prayer room is. And we have our ushers, stewardesses, who will be happy to assist you with anything at all. If you wish to have translation as the sessions go, please raise your hand so we get a good indication for those who may need the equipment. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you need French, English or French, because the second session, all right. Naomba tafadhali translators na ushers wetu muweze kuangalia mikono hii ili tuweze kuleta translators. And so we have two languages. If we're doing the session in Swahili, as we'll do with the first opening session, and so the translation will be in English, channel 1, French, channel 2. All right? Once again, the hands, I think have been indicated. I see a couple of hands right here. Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we'll filter through, and you can pick up the equipment. So, ladies and gentlemen, your hands once again to Olivia Lamenya Kune, Climate Center, who's our moderator for the first session. Are you ready? No. Ladies and gentlemen, for our first session this morning, please put your hands together for Olivia. Okay.
Morning, everyone. I'm not going to say my name again. It has been said enough times. But this conversation is really just going to look at what green freight initiatives are being put together by various members of a network. And the focus of these initiatives is really on the Central Corridor. So as we go through this panel, I would like to invite various members of the network, starting with Alan McKinnon. Alan McKinnon is from the University of Logistics in the Kuhne Logistics University in Hamburg. Rick Anders from Smart Freight Center. Emmanuel Ruta, that's a hard name, from the Central Corridor. Sean Cook from UNEP. John Githe from GIZ. And Oma Olum from Trademark Africa. Emmanuel, you too. No. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do that. So before we start the panel discussion, Emmanuel from the Central Corridor will do a presentation on what transformation to a green economic development corridor looks like. And then after that, we'll go straight into the panel discussion. So maybe as we start off, Emmanuel, maybe you can introduce yourself better. I'm not very good with protocols observed, so maybe we could ask you to do that as we wait for them to set up your presentation.
Good morning. I'm called Emmanuel Rutajengwa. I come from the Central Corridor Transit Transport Facilitation Agency, and I'm the Director of Transport Policy and Planning.
Hello everyone, I am Sean Cook. I am the lead of the Green Freight portfolio at the United Nations Environment Programme. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan McKinnon. I'm a professor of logistics at the Kuna Logistics University in Hamburg, which we think we are the only university in the world that really specializes in logistics and supply chain management. Thank you. Although I work in Germany, you probably gather from my accent, I'm actually Scottish. I live in Edinburgh.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Mushina. I'm a trade policy advisor at JZ.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rick Ahrens. I'm director at Smart Freight Center. We are a global NGO working on decarbonizing logistics and global supply chains, working with the largest multinationals in various regions to help them decarbonize and become CO2 neutral.
Morning, everyone. My name is Oumo Lum. I'm the director for Green Trade at Trademark Africa. We are, I think, the largest aid for trade organization in the world, and we work to facilitate trade, particularly across the continent. I'm pleased to be here this morning.
Scared. If the laptop comes back, Emmanuel, it's okay to do the presentation with the laptop. Okay, since we have technical challenges at the back, maybe we will proceed and ask some of the panelists some of the questions. Okay. So maybe we just go into the conversation with the panelists, talking about green freight programs and what net zero looks like by 2050 for the region is a very interesting conversation. In fact, it's a hot cake at the moment. So maybe I start with Alan, because you're coming from a very academic position, and it will enable the rest of the guys to then float around the conversation maybe more easily. So maybe the question to you, Alan, is you maybe have the best knowledge around what green freight initiatives looks like inside out. What do you think makes these initiatives successful or a failure?
Thank you, Olivia. That's a very tough question to start with. I think you may have directed that question at me because I'm the oldest guy on the panel. I've been working in this field now for about 30 or 40 years. So one thing I've witnessed over the past 20 years is a proliferation in the number of green freight programs around the world. I think the first of these programs was the one set up by the Environmental Protection Agency in the US, the SmartWay program that was set up in 2004, which I think is still about the largest, and that has been very successful. But there are now many others. They vary a lot which makes it difficult to compare them and say which ones have been more successful than others. Some of them focus on a particular freight transport mode, others are cross-modal. Some were set up by governments, some by industry associations or NGOs. They vary in their geographical coverage. So some are confined to a single country, others are international. There are some which are even local. So in the UK, we have got some green freight programs that are city-based as well. I'm not, as an academic, I'm not aware of any research which has compared all these green freight programs and has tried to assess them in terms of what they've actually achieved. I'm happy to report that very few of these green freight programs have ever failed. The main failure that I'm aware of is one called Green Freight Europe that was established in 2012 and only lasted a few years. I don't think there's been a post-mortem to work out what went wrong with that green freight program. My own view is that one thing that maybe caused it to fail was that it wasn't sufficiently adapted to the freight and logistics market in Europe. It was an attempt to transplant the smart way concept from the US across the Atlantic into Europe. It was quite successful initially. It got about 60 member organizations within a few years, but it didn't engage properly, I think, with the freight and logistics community within Europe. But let's not talk about the negatives. You know, if we focus on what I think are the success factors, I don't think there's a single formula for this, but there are a number of things that a green freight program has to have, I think, for it to be successful and to be durable. One of those things, it seems to me, is to be adapted to the local circumstances, adapted to the local freight market, establishing good relationships with all the key organizations, all the key stakeholders. It has to be seen to deliver benefit to the member organizations, allowing them to strengthen their environmental reputation, and as a result of that, gain some competitive advantage. I think a green freight program also should be seen to be a repository for expertise, because so many companies in this sector who are trying to green their operations just lack the knowledge of how to do that. So they want to turn to some expert group that are able then to provide them with the necessary advice and guidance. I think that's important. I think another key success factor for a green freight program is its ability to partner with other organizations. And that would actually include universities, right? As an academic, I think that researchers in universities have a role to play in helping to equip green freight programs with the necessary skills. So hopefully that provides an answer to your question. It would be nice if I could say these are the 6 key ingredients in a successful green freight program. I don't think it's as simple as that. And I obviously wish the new green freight program that's going to be launched at this conference, wish them well in their achievements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan, on that. I'll go straight into trademark. Trademark has always helped public and private sector stakeholders, especially in the logistics sides of supply chains and trade. Tell us a little bit more about your green logistics initiatives, how it's working, what your plans are, and how it's going to affect this particular side of the equator.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
I hope I am. Okay, thanks. So you're right. I mean, Trademark Africa has been here for about 10 plus years. Really working with public and private sector institutions to be able to facilitate trade across, initially across the East African region, and we've, increasingly expanded our footprint across Africa. At the moment, we're the Horn of Africa, we are in Southern Africa and also West Africa, covering about 15 or so countries or so. So the green trade portfolio, rather, that I lead is actually one of the newest portfolios under the offering of the organization. So through the portfolio, we are aiming to really support initiatives that aim at ensuring that trade, as it increases, it's also in line with environmental imperatives, partly looking at the the overall question of greenhouse gas emissions and adaptation. So I want to perhaps illustrate what it is that we're doing through 7 or so interventions. So the first one really speaks to what we've been doing primarily as our traditional offering, which is the work around the one-stop border post. So I think that we actually call it our bread and butter. That's what we've been known for. So the OSBPs, or as they are called, are actually interventions that facilitate trade, particularly at international borders, ensuring that the flow of goods and services across borders is efficient as possible. So alongside that is the work that we do in the standards and SPS domain that aims at ensuring that goods that are particularly exported meet the requisite standards of the export markets. There's also the work that we do through our policy portfolio that is aimed at harmonizing policies, regional policies, but also addressing non-tariff barriers. Additionally, there's the work that we've been traditionally doing around ICT for trade. We nowadays call it digital trade, that really aims at providing both hard and soft IT solutions for trade. So when you look at the combination of all these things that we're trying to do, particularly with trade along the corridors, they have an impact now. Efficiently trade then can happen, but also that actually has an implication in terms of just how fast goods can move. And of course, we know the faster the goods can move, the better for climate. And so, really, collectively through those, we aim to contribute to particularly the regions through which you work, to be able to contribute to the freight emissions intensity. For the northern corridor, the aim is to really, together with other partners, to see a reduction from I think the figure currently is about 17 grams of carbon dioxide per ton kilometer. I think that was 2018, to a reduction of about 64 by 2030. Similarly, for the central corridor, we aim to contribute to a reduction from about, I think it's 91 to about 77 by 2030. So collectively around that. So that's the first area of intervention. The other one is about greening trade and transport infrastructure. This is the example of what we did with the Mombasa port to illustrate that. Trademark, together with other partners, I think with funding from FCDO and other partners, including the port itself, implemented a number of interventions in line with the port's green port policy. Some of these interventions included providing what we call cold ironing solutions, essentially providing shoreline power to be able to power ships so that their main auxiliary powers can be switched off while they're at berth. In addition, we worked to improve, just to improve the efficiency of the port. We also provided additional power solutions that are not necessarily for powering the ships, amongst other green interventions. So collectively, to look at some of the results coming from that project,